ticket. So make sure to kind of stay in your seat because they're going to be coming around whenever they're not showing footage
Venom or
and passing those out. So we will make sure that you guys get them. So try to stay in your seats as much as possible so you can get those. And then also, I know you're going to get to see some footage at this panel, and let me tell you, it's pretty damn cool. So do us a favor and not record it because, again, we want to make sure that Sony continues to bring us great stuff, and believe me, this is some great footage. So, with that, it is my pleasure to bring out the moderator of this panel, Jessica Chobot.
Joining us here for the Sony Hall H panel. I'm very excited to present a ton of really awesome footage and questions and answers for you guys today. So I think we're going to have a great time. We have lots of stuff to show you. So without further ado, let me introduce to you our Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse crew. We've got Rodney Rothman, sorry. Close to me. Next up, Peter Ramsey. We got Bob Persichetti. Shameik Moore.
How y'all doing? I did break my arm, yes.
And Phil Lord.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us. How's Comic-Con been so far for you?
Great. Excellent. Fantastic.
Awesome.
We're coming.
All right, well, let's get right to it. Chris and Phil, why did you want to make this movie?
That's how every movie we make starts. Look, you know, this story's been told a lot of times. We love Miles Morales. We thought that was amazing. Way to tell a Spider-Man story. We fell in love with the book. And when Sony came to us and said, you know, we want to do an animated Spider-Man movie, we said, we'll do it, but it has to be Miles.
Nice.
And we started, yeah, give it up for Miles Morales. And then we got sort of carried away, and it kind of grew from there. But he's just an inspiring character. The whole idea is, how do we tell this story in a refreshing way? How do we tell it through somebody else's experience? How do we put a new spin on it? And Miles is a great start.
Well, the fact that you did approach it in a refreshing way, you did put a new spin on it, but then stylistically it's also very unique looking. So how did you kind of combine those two in order to bring it to life?
Yeah, that was the other thing that we were really excited about. We felt like this is the best opportunity ever to tell a story that actually looked like a comic book, like you were literally walking into a comic book. So from the very beginning we said, what can we do? How can we make a movie that looks like nothing I've ever seen before, that's like a completely unique cinematic experience that feels like you're walking into the pages of a three-dimensional comic book. And to everybody here's credit, these three geniuses over here, they were able to make it look like something you've never seen before and something that has to be seen on a big screen.
Yeah, I've gotten a chance to look at it, and I was telling them behind stage that it is absolutely phenomenal looking. I legitimately absolutely love it. It looks really cool. Why was Shameik the perfect Miles for you guys? Not to talk about him as if he's not here.
Well, don't tell him.
Yeah, close your ears, Shameik.
We've been fans of Shameik for a long time. We loved him ever since we saw him for the first time in Dope, and we've known him for a while from different auditions and things. That we've always felt like this guy is brilliant. He's so sincere. He's funny. He's cool. He's everything that Miles is. He's got a really unique, positive take on life. This is his first Comic-Con. It's his first time he's been here. From the beginning, we were like, this guy is the guy, and we were right.
Oh man, he's so nice. Smooth talk.
Shameik, what was it about playing Miles that really appealed to you in particular?
Well, he's a black Spider-Man, black and Mexican. I think that's very powerful and iconic. I was thankful for the opportunity. The fact that it looks this beautiful and the fact that the writing is so amazing and that the cast is so amazing was a pleasant surprise. But the fact that I was able to have the opportunity to audition, to book and become Miles Morales was the original, oh my gosh, this would be amazing. But the project itself is like, ooh, I was blessed, look at this. No, seriously, beautiful animation.
I don't mean to maybe potentially pry, but I was told that as a kid, you actually had aspirations to be Spider-Man.
Most definitely.
What's the story behind that? A notebook?
I mean, oh yes. So this was a little later than my childhood. Everybody knows about Spider-Man.
You were a kid 2 years ago.
I still am a kid.
You're 23, you're a kid right now.
Yes, I still am a kid. I was filming Dope, and my co-star, Kiersey, she gave me this journal. And I started all of us were on this positive movement, The Secret, Law of Attraction, and Four Agreements, all of that. And we're like reading books and listening to meditations and writing our thoughts down. What do we want? What are we attracting? And yeah, mine was, the first thing on the first page was, I am Miles Morales. And on the back of it was, I am Spider-Man. And a whole bunch of other stuff is in that journal. But yeah, and 2 years later, boom, pow. Boom, pow.
It works.
That's the way it works for Shameik. It does not work that way for me. I got a lot of stuff in my notebook, Phil.
Well, Jake, why don't you tell us a little bit about your Peter Parker?
Well, it's Peter Parker at 40. And it's Peter Parker with a bad back, and it's Peter Parker who's not sure if he still wants to be Spider-Man. And what it means to be, what it means to be Spider-Man after the excitement of being Spider-Man. That just got really heavy, folks.
Yeah, it did.
But that's what, that's this Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Chubby Peter Parker.
So, it's hard. It's, you run into that many kind of villains throughout your day-to-day life. I'm sure that takes a toll after a while.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then he meets Miles in this movie. Miles needs him to be a mentor and needs things from him, but he doesn't see himself as a mentor or a teacher, and he doesn't want to be. But he sees something really special in this guy, and it reminds him of what he loves about having those powers.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up then. Could you, either of you, explain the relationship between Peter and Miles? I mean, the fact that, he is kind of a teacher, but a reluctant one, but also a friend. There's a lot of great banter back and forth that I saw.
I think, there's two different perspectives, obviously, two different
totally.
characters. But Miles just needs a teacher. He doesn't really want to be Spider-Man. He doesn't want this extra responsibility. He's just trying to go to school like a normal kid, middle school. All of a sudden, he bit by this spider, and he got these powers, and now people are trying to kill him. And he has this duty of saving multiple universes. And now I meet this Spider-Man, and I'm like, hey, dude, you need to teach me.
No. I don't need to teach you.
Why not?
Go away, kid.
Dude, I really need you to help me save the world.
Not now. And I think Peter is... See, just not now.
Not now, on your own time.
No, Miles. And I think Peter's in a situation where he sees this kid asking something from him and he doesn't want to give it to him. But he's so persistent. And anytime someone's really persistent, after a while, if you're any sort of a human, you break down and give in.
Well, Hailee, let's go to talking about Gwen Stacy, aka Spider-Gwen.
Yeah!
What excited you most to play her?
Ooh, well, first of all, I get to play a female superhero, which was pretty cool. And not just any female superhero, but the first Spider-Woman. I mean, that was so exciting to me, and the fact that she is really just the toughest and the coolest and the smartest and the most capable one in the room, and she knows it. There's something really incredible about her, and it was really...
I just said sorry, guys.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, right, I know, I got carried away there. The smartest, the toughest, the coolest, and what else? No, but she's got so much to her, and it was really fantastic playing a character like her.
And what's her relationship like with Peter and Miles as well?
Well, I had fun with this one. You know, it's always interesting too, really quickly, just the process of doing this and meeting you guys and you know, not knowing you and knowing you through the process of doing this and sort of creating this, these relationships, I guess at a distance. But Gwen has, I love the relationship that she has with Miles. It's kind of, how would you describe it?
Well, she's, you know, all of these characters are born out of tragedy on some level. And the thing that's interesting about intersecting their stories is for the first time there's somebody out there that knows what they're going through. And the thing that's so interesting to me about the relationship between Spider-Gwen and Miles and our movie, all of these guys, is that they finally have like a tribe that they can hang out with. And here's somebody who doesn't have a buddy and is almost afraid to have a friend. Hey, lost that friend. You know what I mean? And so the fact that like they kind of get to find each other is a really like beautiful part of the movie.
Bob, Peter, and Rodney, you guys have all these unique characters. You also have this unique style. How did you approach that? How did you bring life into this entire world?
Well, as far as style, you know, a lot of it, you know, starts with Phil and Chris, you know, and this whole approach to the movie, which is that we're trying to push every aspect of this in a way that you haven't seen before, you know, and we're being challenged every day to think of ways to tell this story in a way that you haven't seen before. And then as far as, you know, the characters, it really starts with the book, you know, like the book, the heart of the book is Miles and his family and their relationship, and that's the heart of the movie.
Yeah, I think you know, it's a really ambitious movie. It's probably the most ambitious thing about it is that it introduces a whole new version of Spider-Man. I mean, comics fans, you know, most of you guys, you've known Miles for a while, but the world at large doesn't really know him and doesn't really have experience of a different character kind of bearing this mantle. And the fascinating thing about it to me is that, you know, the same things that apply to Peter Parker, with great power comes great responsibility. Those same ideas transfer onto another character who couldn't be more different than Peter in so many ways, and yet the strength of the original idea of the character still holds firm. It's still Spider-Man.
Anyone can wear the mask.
That is true. Yeah, I mean, I think what we were really trying to achieve too was just an interpretation of a comic book that actually made it on screen and felt cinematic, but still was beholden to the original source material, which was a comic printed on paper. And the process of making one of those, you know, you get these imperfections, and it's those imperfections that make that medium so special. And we were just looking to try to, you know, break the computer and bring some personality back to animation, which is you know, one of the greatest mediums for personal expression out there, and it's kind of, you know, plateaued, and there's a certain expectation with animation, and we were looking to go beyond that. And in the same way that Miles is a different type of Spider-Man, we felt it was appropriate to find a new way to visualize it.
Where did you get the inspiration for this new approach?
I've literally torn from the pages of the comics. I mean, 100%. And then it was just a matter of looking at, you know, the process that we go through to make these movies, and see how visually you could translate that flat medium into a three-dimensional space and project it and still feel, you know, the scope of a large film, but also the intimacy of the page and the panel on the page. And really, you know, one of the greatest strengths of comics is that it manages to encapsulate in one image a really succinct, powerful story point or emotion or action. And in our process of animation, we really try to achieve that same feeling.
That's awesome. So we know our core spider people, but Chris and Phil, let's talk a little bit about the Spider-Verse. How does that work? How does that play in?
How does that work?
Well,
you guys don't know.
Oh, we know.
Look, Miles' story takes place in an alternate dimension to our own. The Spider-Verse is basically, you know, all of these alternate ways of telling this story, and all of these different people that experience it. And the thought of this movie was, what if those different stories intersected? And what would it do? How would it shake them up? What would happen if these people met? And I think that's like the power of this character, is that we've told his story so many different ways. And like Shameik says, anyone could be behind that mask, and we can all imagine ourselves behind that mask. I think that's the cool thing about Spider-Man, and it's the interesting thing about comics culture, the fact that there's so many of these movies, that the story keeps getting told, and each time the differences and variations in the ways that it gets told, those are really interesting to us.
Awesome. All right, well, I know that everybody in the room is excited to see all of this in action. So do you guys have anything that you can show us? Even though we kind of guaranteed
Do
it.
we have anything?
Do you have anything you can show?
Yes, we do have. We brought some clips. Some shots are not finished yet, so please watch it with an open mind. But we did say in the last trailer that save it for Comic-Con, and here we are at Comic-Con. So, oh man,
It looks so good. The dialogue's on point. Everybody's funny. It's super charming. The art looks great. I'm just like super stoked.
Oh man.
Yeah. And speaking of what we saw at the very end, how many spider people are there?
well, we just met 3 new Spider people. The first one you met was Spider-Man Noir, who is indeed voiced by Nick Cage. Then we had Penny Parker with her robot SPDR, voiced by Kimiko Glenn. And finally...
Everybody seems to know Spider-Ham.
Yep.
Voiced by the incomparable John Mulaney.
He's definitely a scene stealer in the movie. So you should see it on the big screen, guys.
Well, it looks absolutely amazing. Thank you guys so much for sharing that with us here at Comic-Con. Big round of applause for our panelists. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Thanks. I don't want anybody to leave Comic-Con without their phone. It's a big deal. All right, well guys, before we introduce our next guests, I want to remind everybody about those tickets. Make sure and hang on to them, because once the panel ends, you will be able to receive a Spider-Verse print at the end of the panel. So don't lose those. Also, if you would do me a huge favor, because I heard you guys opening the packages while we were talking, can you put on those Venom masks and help me chant, "We are Venom," so that we can introduce our next guests. I'll give you some time to put on the mask. Yeah?
You need one. Anyone? Oh, there you go.
Are we all good?
There you go.
No? Okay. I'll give you another minute. How about now? Yeah? You're good? All right. Okay. Couple more seconds.
Hey, Ramon. Let's get the whole line. Let's see if I get the...
So I don't know what's going on. All right, we good? Yeah. All right. Let's get it started. Oh, you're just gonna have to work with me here. All right. Ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. We are Venom. We are Venom. Come on. I help you guys. I'm gonna scream this until you do it. Ready? We are Venom. We are Venom. We are Venom. We are Venom. Let me introduce. Keep it going. Keep it going.
We are Venom.
Let me introduce to you Ruben Fleischer, Ahmed, and Tom Hardy.
Like it's hot really fast.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Hi. Thank you guys for joining us. How's the Comic-Con been so far?
Wow, it's pretty incredible to be here.
Tom, this is actually your first Hall H, correct?
Yeah, this is.
What do you think of it?
I'm a bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie.
Awesome. Well, I know everybody's very excited to not only hear your answers, but also check out what you guys brought as far as checking things out. So let's get it started. Ruben, tell us a little bit about the film. What can we expect from this Venom movie?
Well, I just want to say how excited I am to be here. We came here, I first came here with Zombieland almost 10 years ago.
Yeah!
So to be back in Hall H is incredibly exciting. But, you know, a little bit about Venom. We made this movie for you guys. That's why we made the movie, because we share a passion about this character. As we all know, he's a much darker character, and I think that's what distinguishes this movie. Unlike other Marvel films, this is a much grittier, grounded, complicated character, more violent, and unlike most superhero movies, there's no heroes really in this movie. It's full of complicated and complex characters, like this guy who's trying to bite people's heads off the whole time, and this guy who's like an evil megalomaniac who's trying to take over the world.
As one does.
As one does.
As one does. So what was it about Tom that made you feel like he was perfect for Venom?
Well, I think we all know the answer to that one.
Not to put you on the spot.
There's no one more perfect to play Eddie Brock in Venom. But for me, as a huge fan of Tom, I love pretty much everything. No, I can say officially everything he's been in. So when I heard he was excited about playing Eddie Brock in Venom, it was like a dream come true. There's just, for me, no one more exciting to watch on screen. He just brings so much complexity and depth to every character he inhabits. There's a danger and a complexity, and with what's unique to this character is just that duality between Eddie and Venom, and you know, watching what he does with everything he inhabits, he just elevates it to the next level. So it was a dream come true to find out that he was interested, and it's been an absolute pleasure working together on this film.
Awesome. Tom, what is it about Venom and Eddie that appealed to you?
First of all, thank you, Ruben. That's a really lovely way to speak about me. I feel a bit... That's really kind of you. Venom is by far, like, for me, the, like, I don't want to, like, upset anyone, but I think he's the coolest Marvel superhero that there is. And I just like the way he looks, first and foremost. Then also there's my son, and he's a massive Venom fan, and he was a very strong influence on me as to why I ought to play Venom specifically. So I wanted to do something that I really wanted to do something that my son could watch because a lot of the films that I've done are normally pretty aggressive or violent, or I swear a lot, or you know. And so I did something where I bite people's heads off instead. My son can't see it. You know? So for the best of intentions, yeah, I got involved in Venom for the material and the opportunity. You know what? I'm just going to go on and on and on and on until why. But would you like to see some footage? Because we brought some footage. That'll be better than me talking. So you want to play footage?
Hands up at the front.
Thank you, guys.
Fantastic, guys.
Still work in progress. We got a couple months till we're done. So those VFX are still a little rough. It'll look great.
I think it looks great.
Not good.
Well, so Tom, tell us a little bit about bringing Venom to life. What is it that you did in order to approach him as a character?
Well, it's what's that? I got a parasite. Yeah. Like no, well, it was so fairly standard operating procedure. I read the script. I fell in love with the character, and it's a double act. So there were two characters that I'm playing. And I'm a bit of a geek about acting, so I wanted to play. I did a film called Legend, where I played two brothers. And I thought I could do a similar technique, but this time I get to play with a huge, like, visual effects monster with an abundance of money to spend on it, and to see how far I could push that. So I got to give a lot of props to the sound boys, Coffee and Patrick, who actually, I would record Venom up first before I did a scene with Venom, or other actors who had to work in the scene with Eddie Brock and Venom together, but they couldn't hear necessarily Venom, but I could. And the sound boys would listen to my cues or the other actors' cues and have to play or interrupt other actors with the right lines at the right time. So the sound boys, Coffee and Patrick, actually technically played Venom, if that makes sense, and then Mr. Franklin created Venom, and I just kind of played Eddie Brock.
That's really cool. So it kind of was able to give you kind of those instantaneous reactions, and because you're hearing it in your head all of a sudden?
Yeah, so I wear an earpiece. I would record, like, so it depends. If I'm Eddie Brock and Venom is talking to me, then it's just me that hears it. But all the other actors don't know when they can speak. So it's kind of a technical piece.
Yeah.
So it's really a geeky kind of answer. I'm going to give you this, like, it's a very slow and methodical recording experience.
Yeah, it's like a little technical dance.
Completely, yeah.
But as a director, it's just so exhilarating to watch him have these conversations with himself all at once. I mean, seriously, like, because he is two different, beings are occupying him, living in his head simultaneously. The way he's able to be interacting with Riz in a scene, but also reacting to Venom, who's talking to him in his head. At the same time, just watching at the monitor, it was just, so fun to see the way he was able to create this world.
That's awesome. So can you tell us also a little bit about Eddie as a character?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we stay pretty close to the Lethal Protector, but Eddie Brock, he's I want to say like an investigative journalist that has a documentary show of his own in our world, and he falls on hard times, which is kind of similar to how he did in the comics, but we've created a Venomverse, as it were. So. He falls on hard times, now of favor with his partner and his wife, or well, not his wife yet, as it were. And he's a bit of a loser in some aspects, but he's the kind of guy that he does. He's an anti-hero, so he'll figure on a goal, and he'll do whatever he has to do to get to that goal, even if that means going around the outside and doing some naughty or bad things to get there. So
he works in the gray areas, kind of.
He's gray. I mean, his ethical structure is really off. He's got like no scruples. His moral code is questionable. But he believes, he's got a big heart, and he believes in doing the right thing, even if he goes around the outside to get it done. And it causes collateral and it causes damage. So in that aspect, he means well. He's got a true and noble heart. But I'm going on and on and on and on. But this is what's wonderful about the fact that he then finds, and I don't want to give away spoilers, but he kind of finds his perfect opposite partner in this huge, great alien beast that arrives and lives rent-free in his body, and no one will believe him that it's there.
Riz, let's talk about your character, Carlton Drake. Can you give us a little bit of insight as to what makes him tick?
Well, Carlton Drake is a genius, a billionaire, an inventor, and he's made a lot of scientific breakthroughs in his time. And at this point, the Life Foundation, which is the organization that he founded, is trying to answer the question of what does the future for humanity look like? Because planet Earth is almost done, as you saw in the footage. It's like we're on the brink of ecological and environmental collapse. So he thinks probably we've got a future in outer space. So it's in exploring that he comes across the symbiotes. And yeah, I don't want to give away too much after that. But it was interesting because obviously in the comics, he's part of this almost kind of committee of very rich, very powerful men who are thinking about about starting an exclusive club for people who might survive the nuclear apocalypse. Because those stories, at the time of those stories, the Cold War was taking place. So we just updated that and preserved the spirit of that storyline. And actually the biggest disaster we're facing isn't, the Cold War, it's the war that we're waging on our own planet.
Yeah.
So from Carlton Drake's point of view, he's really trying to do right by humanity, trying to ensure we've got a future. It's just that old saying, sometimes to make an omelette, you've got to break some eggs.
Yeah, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Yeah. Ruben, in the footage that we saw, there was another symbiote. Who was that? Although from the cheers from the crowd, I'm guessing they know who it is.
That was Riot. So for any of the fans of the Planet of the Symbiotes run, they'll probably remember Riot, and he is Venom's adversary. He's stronger, more powerful, and he has a unique trait in that he can occupy, well, he's not unique to him, as we all know, symbiotes can jump from different hosts, so in our movie, you never know quite where Riot's going to turn up.
Awesome. What can you tell us about any other?
There may or may not be other villains in the movie. I don't want to go into too much detail, but
shh. Yeah. I don't know what you guys
didn't hear from me. But yeah, we're definitely planning a huge world with this Venom story, and we want to be able to satisfy our own desires and the desires of fans to explore all of the beloved characters from the universe.
Awesome. So, well, let's talk about the women in the film. We've got Michelle Williams playing Eddie's ex-girlfriend, Anne. How was it working with Michelle, Tom?
Michelle is awesome. I wish she was here now. She would love this. She's a brilliant actress, and like through and through. Like there's nothing that actor cannot do. She's brilliant, and working with her, she's a consummate pro. She's super patient with me talking to myself all the time, trying to figure things out. She's a problem solver, and she's awesome. She's an awesome actress. So working with her is a delight, and I'm looking forward to doing more. Oh, I can't tell you. I was going to say something. I can't. It's a spoiler. But she's really good in this movie.
Yeah, she just brings such a warmth and humanity to the character, but she's really strong. I mean, as people remember from the comics, Anne Wang is a really strong character, and I think Michelle did her justice as far as just being, a worthy adversary to Eddie Brock. If Riot's an adversary to Venom, we can say that Anne is a worthy adversary to Eddie.
And you, Ruben, you actually know Michelle from back
I didn't
in the day.
know her. Yeah, my first job in Hollywood was being a PA on Dawson's Creek, so I've been a fan of Michelle Williams for a long time. I didn't get to talk to her at that time when I worked on the show, but now it was just I've been admiring her career from afar, and what she's done, the role she's played, it was incredible to get to work with her. Like Tom said, there's just no one better. She's so good.
And Riz, how was it working with Jenny Slate, and what's her character's role within the film?
Well, Jenny Slate, who I'm a massive fan of her as a performer and a comedian, she plays the lead scientist at the Life Foundation. So it was interesting because, I mean, I think she's going to be a real discovery for a lot of people in terms of the kind of role she plays. Here, she brings a lot of soul and warmth and humanity to this character, to this scientist. But in between takes, she just had us in stitches. She's so funny. She's just, I mean, I just really want us to be able to leak the footage of behind the scenes of what she was doing between takes. Because she's hilarious.
Is she pulling pranks, or is she telling jokes, or is she just really, like, whip smart?
She's just telling jokes, going off on crazy monologues, creating characters, and just the whole deal. DVD extras. Yeah.
The Blu-ray extras. I love it. All right, well, Ruben, I actually want to go back to something that you said at the beginning, that there were no heroes in this film. So where does that leave Spider-Man?
I think we can all agree it would be pretty amazing to see Spider-Man and Venom face off in a film. And I know I can speak for myself when I say that I'd be really excited to go see that film. So I have to think that the studio is thinking the same way, and that at some point down the road, they're going to run across each other's paths.
Well, speaking of that, Tom Holland recently said that out of all the characters in the Marvel's universe, the one that he would most like to face off with is Venom. So, how do you feel about that?
Who, me?
You ready to go face to face?
Well, what, toe to toe with Tom Holland?
Yeah.
I'll have a go, yeah. Go have a go, ain't ya? Yeah, no, he's an awesome actor, and I'd love to work with him, and I love Spider-Man, so, but you know, who knows?
Yeah.
That's not fair.
He moves fast. Tom Holland's quick.
It'd be good fun. I would love to.
Ruben, do you think this is something potentially in the future?
Yeah, I have to think we'd all love to see that, so I can't wait for it.
Well, there you go, guys. Fans, make this happen.
Confirmed.
Big round of